Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday, which means it's time for our weekly Pirates chat. As always, I'm Andrew Destin, reporter for the Post-Gazette, joined by Jason Mackey, our Pirates beat reporter. Jason, how are we doing today, man?
I'm doing great, and I wanted to show off my Grateful Dead baseball shirt. I haven't busted this out enough, but I usually sport the baseballism stuff, and this is like my own brand of baseballism. So I'm doing well, pal. Good Pirates win last night. We'll talk about it. Ortiz was really good, and I don't know what to make of this team. Sort of like bigger picture right now. There are some days where I feel pretty good about them, and there are other days, like on Sunday, and I'm thankful I got out of that disaster. And some days I don't feel so good about them. So I'm doing well. Let's get into it.
Yeah, 2 points on that one. One, you certainly know when to pick the off days. I'll say that and tip the cap to you.
I don't take many, but I try to make them count when I do. And I was very happy. I watched the first couple innings of that thing, and then went out with my wife and two kids, and we were just out around Gallivant and then sort of following on the phone. And I'm like, yeah, don't feel bad about missing this one at all. Poor Andrew. This is not one that writes well. So yeah, I enjoy it.
Unfortunately not, but at least the weather was nice, so hopefully you got to get out and about for all that. But so yesterday's game, I mean, you mentioned Ortiz there. Let's get right into it. I mean, he shoved. I'll put it simply. I mean, dude was awesome on the mound. Longest start, I think it was, of his career. First win of the season. I mean, let's just get right into that. What do you see from Ortiz and a new introduction of a pitch, right, with the changeup, right?
I would say using it regularly for the first time. He didn't invent the pitch or anything like that. He's been toying with it, and this is the first time. And you know what? This goes to a point that we're going to get into a little bit later because you wrote about this, but the influence of Austin Hedges over him. I feel like last night might have been that time where everybody kind of shuts up a little bit. Like his offense is not good. It's not defending it. And I am certainly in the camp of like wanting to see Endy and Henry, and they're the future of the position, blah, blah, blah. But questioning whether Hedges adds value, watch that start last night and tell me he didn't add that. Like he challenged Ortiz to use his four-seamer and two-seamer, challenged Ortiz to use the changeup. What do you know? The slider played way better off of both of them because he had people off balance in between. But yeah, I like the changeup usage, Andrew, not to go down the rabbit hole of Hedges, but he looked who cares about the fastball velocity, number one? I mean, he looked like a pitcher last night. That's what he did. And the pitch count was tremendous. I love guys that are that pitch efficient. I heard Adam Wainwright from the Cardinals talk one time that he looks at innings and pitch counts. He wants them to start with the same number. So in the first inning, he wants under 10 pitches, 20 and pitch count in the second inning, 20, so on and so forth. I guess I don't have to explain that, but whenever I see a guy doing that, it makes me inordinately happy.
Yeah, no, it was just fascinating to watch. I mean, what was it, through 5 innings? He was at like 51 pitches or something like that. It was, I mean, just
I think
working
he was at
efficiently.
67 through 7. That's
Yeah,
a finish
come
with
on.
93. Like the eighth was a disaster, but holy crap. It was really good.
Yeah, then you got Colin Holderman to come in for one batter and throw 101 casually. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Holderman's such a beast, man. I mean, I love the back end of their bullpen. I realize Bednar gave up a home run last night. I don't think anybody in their right mind should be freaking out over Bednar. But, I mean, they've got a seventh inning problem at this point. Stevenson has not been good. Underwood Jr. has not been good and banged up. I'm not sure they have anybody else who can reliably pitch the seventh. But if you get a lead in the eighth with Holderman and ninth with Bednar, I'll take those chances every day of the week.
Yeah, the back end is certainly sturdy. And I guess that this might be me reaching here, but that kind of brings me to this point, is that great timing from Ortiz to put together, his best start as a Pirate, given what's happening, right? Velasquez is off a rehab start where he looked pretty good in Indy, might be really close to coming back. Oviedo had a good time to reintroduce the sinker to the repertoire. Tough decisions for the Pirates. I mean, how do you navigate this? Do you move Ortiz to the bullpen to keep his arm in Pittsburgh? Is it you send him back down to AAA to keep him throwing at once every 5 days? Like, what do you do with this? How do you navigate this issue?
I might kick the can. It would be my solution. Give Ortiz one more start and see. I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world to have Vince make one more start, one more rehab start. But I think I need to know how Vince feels, how his stuff played in Indy. That's information we don't have. So maybe you kick the. I don't love the idea, and I was shaking my head as you said this. Not to dismiss you. I just worry about I see Luis Ortiz as somebody who can start games. I think we saw that last night. I don't want to screw around with like shortening him into a relief role or not getting regular work. Like he had a really good outing last night, and I'm trying to like step back, bigger picture, and think like what's better for him and the Pirates long term. Like you're paying Vince Velasquez to pitch major league innings, so you want him to pitch major league innings. I get that. He was also really good. He was, better than basically anybody but Mitch Keller until he got hurt. So he deserves the right, in my opinion, to go back to the rotation. Then what do? Do you go with 6? I don't think that's the answer. Do you move Ortiz to the bullpen? Again, I don't love that because of the the back and forth nature and what it does to a pitcher's arm. If I send him down, which I certainly can, my crime is then, sort of lighting a fire under the kid's butt to, be a little ticked off or something. I don't know. I don't even think he would take it that way. But to say like, look, it was really good. I understand this isn't a piece of news you want to hear, but we want you to go down to the minor leagues and work on what you did in that start. Like it's not you, it's us. Is sort of the way I would explain. I think that's the way I would do it, Andrew. If I could get a little more information and buy a little bit more time, I might, but it's probably delaying the inevitable. And it's a good position to be in, right? Like they have starters who are pitching well and staying healthy. And as a result, a kid who just threw a really good game might have to go down to the minor leagues. What would you do? Do you agree? Do you disagree?
Totally agree, especially because, like the issue with Luis last year, and I guess issue is the wrong word for it, but, it was all about lengthening him out and getting him ready for pitching in big league starts and getting him to the degree where he can go 5, 6, 7 innings. Like the Pirates have just accomplished that. They've got him to this point where he's ready to do that. So why trim him back down and get him down into a high leverage role or, just pitching an inning or 2 innings of high intensity? I feel like, as much as he's looked good in that last start and has shown flashes, you got to get him regular innings. You got to get him once every 5 days. And if that has to be in Indy, so be it. It's not the end of the world. Quinn's down there too. It's like you said, it's a good problem to have that we're not having this conversation a year ago or 2 years ago where you have a couple of arms you think really highly of a level down. And that easily could be 3 arms if Mike Burrows wasn't hurt, or it could be even more if JT Brubaker didn't start the year out hurt getting TJ, and that forces an Oviedo to crack the opening day rotation. Like, this is a better problem to have. And while it's unfortunate to have these tough conversations, I think you'd rather have these ones than to not be having a conversation at all, right?
Yeah. And this is something that is certainly tough to do. I understand, you and I, people in our position, we straddle both worlds, right? Like you dip your toes in the baseball world and how the team does things. Obviously, we're not fully invested there. We dip our toes into the fan world. Obviously, we're not fully invested there. But you get both perspectives. And the team is, super patient, sobering, non-emotional, all that stuff. Fans, complete opposite, right? Like reactionary, they want a DFA. If you did everything fans wanted you to do, like you'd have the worst run baseball team in the history of baseball teams. It's reacting to small sample sizes. It's, talking about the playoffs after 1 month. They would say something like, well, let's just DFA, Vince Velasquez or what, these irrational moves. So like what I try to do is sort of step back and think bigger picture about what they have going on and what the goal is here. And if you step back and think bigger picture about what they have going on and what the goal is here, it is to show improvement, but it is also to show improvement with young players. And at the end of the season, look back and say, we've taken important steps forward. Inside of that, you have some veterans, Rich Hill, Velasquez. They're on expiring deals, right? The idea should be to leverage those deals into something. If they're going to leave, like you want to not let them go for nothing. So, well, Rich Hill has pitched pretty well. And that's why I say that. Like, I'm fishing for his ERA real quick, but 4-1, 2.23 ERA in his last 6 starts. Like that's going to play, and that's tradable at the deadline. So maybe like I wouldn't get rid of him. I'd let him keep pitching. Vince has been the same way. He's been really good. I'd let him keep pitching. The result of that, and you want to grow with young pitchers, Rowanzi, Mitch, Oviedo, you're having to juggle different things. And so if you step back and look at the big picture, to me, it does make more sense to just send Ortiz down, take it on the chin for now. Some people might get upset, but it's the best decision long-term.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It's what you got to do, and it's it's an issue that you have, certainly, where you have to make these kind of decisions, but I think you don't really have a choice here. And to overthink it and think that you need to put a square peg into a circular hole and try and make all parties work, no reason to, right? Just get Ortiz the innings and go from there. But another one I wanted to get into with you is yesterday we saw Tucupita Marcano hit his first career grand slam. But the story is certainly bigger than that, right? This guy's now playing everyday shortstop. What have you made of his development there, kind of settling into that role, which has come with Rodolfo Castro kind of turning into a platoon role? What do you make of that, how the Pirates are approaching this situation, and what have you seen from Marcano getting everyday reps?
I'm glad they are, Andrew. I really am. I like what has happened here. Marcano's made it a little bit easier for him. He's fielded the position well. I can't believe some of the power. You and I have been around Marcano. This kid, he's listed. I was looking this up last night because I did write a little short something on his grand slam. He's listed at 180 pounds. He's not 180 pounds. There is no way. I feel like a stiff breeze would blow this kid over sometimes. And that's fine. Like, his game is speed, versatility, can, certainly field his position. And he's been above average, I feel like, at shortstop. All 4 of his home runs so far have been at least 400 feet. That stunned me, including 419 last night to center. That's a poke. It really was. I tweeted that last night, and very impressive with him. I like seeing the water find its level a little bit up the middle. I didn't like, it was like every game for a while, they had a different combination of guys in the middle infield. But right now, if you have Marcano at short, I'd use Castro more days than not at second. You find reps for Ji-Hwan Bae. And in the outfield, like if you go Jack, Reynolds, Connor Joe, I'd like to see them run Kutch out there more. That works for me. But it starts with Marcano or somebody getting some consistency at shortstop. You wrote about him the other day. You probably know more than me. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's you touched on the power, and I think that kind of goes to what we're probably both alluding to here is sustainability. This is something that, I don't think any of us are expecting Marcano to be a 20 homer guy or anything like that, but it goes to the point that he's a different hitter at the plate. He's kind of changed his approach a little bit, his setup. He's moved the hands back a little bit and raised them a little too. I think that's all to say that he's making the adjustments at the plate, and it's working for the guy. It's putting him in a position to be a better hitter. He's in a better attack position, his load, all of that. And then defensive versatility. I think, unfortunately, as much as Castro gives you a lot with the bat and is an exciting player, just wasn't consistent enough defensively at shortstop to keep getting put there every day. And Marcano, Shelton said it. He called him steady and consistent. He's exactly that. He's a league average, if not better, shortstop. He's capable of making those athletic plays, like when we saw him race down that flare out to left field and knock down the ball at short the other day that could have easily been, a run scoring single to the outfield.
That's right. Those are 2. I forgot about those plays, Andrew. Those are big.
Right? It's like the little things, and they might not show up in a box score per se, some of them, but I think Marcano is providing what you're looking for from a shortstop. Somebody who can really anchor your defense up the middle, which for the most part with Castro and with Bae, it's not, you don't feel as comfortable there maybe as you do at the corners with Hayes and Santana playing some pretty good defense at first as well. So I like seeing Marcano there, and I think the hitting, this is something that could stick. I don't know if it's going to be quite at the clip that he's been doing, being around a 250 guy with some pop, but if it plays, it plays. And I think he's a good fill-in for them for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. He's a solid baseball player, and I feel like I sound like Derek Shelton talking about Diego Castillo last year, but he really is. He's a baseball player. Like, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to add value. He's a really good bunter, can steal some bases, can move around. He's not going to embarrass himself with anything silly. So for that, I like him in the lineup a lot. Obviously, the minute O'Neal Cruz is ready to play, he's going to play every day, and that's fine. But you can't tell me based on what I've seen recently from Tucupita Marcano, again, small sample size theater, we need to see a lot more of it, that he doesn't deserve a spot somewhere. Maybe you bounce him around. Maybe he becomes like Bae. I don't know. Maybe he slides over to second base and it's more of a natural position and he winds up playing a lot. I don't think anybody knows, but you want some consistency to develop here. And so that's been good to see. And to the Castro point, Andrew, I think there's a lot there. Like, I think Rudy Castro is going to be a very good baseball player. I just don't think he's a shortstop, and he might not be like a standard infielder. I look at Castro and I still think about first base. Like if they don't find a first base option, or if we're after the deadline and they're open reps over there, I really hope they flirt with it. I mean, maybe Endy ends up and taking that position. I don't know. Malcolm Nunez has been good in AAA. So, I mean, those are doors you probably want to check first. But I look at Castro and think about, like, obviously Hayes is going to play third. I think Cruz is going to play shortstop. Where does Jared Triolo fit? I don't know. He's very good defensively. If he figures out the offensive stuff, what happens with Nick Gonzalez? If I want Castro's bat in the lineup, first base could be a spot for him. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the ranginess to be able to do that. It's more the throwing that has a little bit of the inconsistencies there. I think the thing that is interesting to me with Castro, and I know Joe Starkey brought this up in one of his columns talking about the splits he's got hitting-wise. I mean, I'm with you. I would like to see Castro in the lineup more often than not with Bay, but I mean, it's baseball, right? There's more right-handed pitchers than there are lefties, and because of that, we're seeing Castro get less and less starts with them going him against lefties and Bay against righties. I mean, how do you approach this? Is this the right play of having Castro, only starting pretty much against lefties? I mean, the last one I think it was on Sunday was his first start against a righty since May 6th. It's a tough situation, but that's just kind of how the splits work out. Is this the way you kind of have to go about it?
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. I feel like the discussion here is, and I guess me and Derek Shelton, or me and the Pirates, might have to agree to disagree. Say, do you value consistent playing time more, or do you value, like, splits, matchups, that sort of thing more? And we know that they value splits, matchups more until somebody sort of proves their way out of that, and then they earn the consistent playing time. I think I'd rather start with consistent playing time and care less about the matchups. And maybe I'm wrong, but like what drives that is, at least like my own feeling as a baseball player playing this game at I would say not an insignificant level, not a high level. I don't like saying that, but you want to know what you're doing. You want to know if you're in there every day. If you're in there every day, you want to grow. You want to have an opportunity to make some mistakes and come back from them and get better. And, that's what I see with Castro, man. Like, he's not fully developed, and that's okay. He does enough well that he can add value. I do think they were shoehorning him into shortstop. So, okay, you move off of that, but find him a place to play. Get him at bats. I don't care if it's right on right, right on left. I don't care if a guy throws with his shoe. Like, just get him in there and see what happens. If you give Castro like consistent and significant playing time, I'm pretty confident. I mean, look at his numbers. I haven't checked lately, but he's nearing 500 major league plate appearances, and it's like 25-ish home runs. I mean, some pretty good power numbers. Like, it's there. And the only way he's going to get better, in my opinion, is not having sheltered ABs, is facing everyone and learning from that.
Yeah, the bat tracks it. So you just got to find a way to get him in there. And I'm with you. I mean, you just got to get a guy regular playing time. And I know it's tough because now they're, I think Ben Harrington was talking about this on Sunday. Now it's a different spot, right? You're trying to balance development with also winning in the present, which is a different goal than prior years, where maybe you would have said, hey, we'll run Castro out there every day and let him work through it. I guess maybe it's a little bit harder now when you're trying to win every day, which isn't to say they weren't the last few years, but it's a different mindset, right? So it makes it tough, but I'm with you. Castro's got the better upside. He's got the better bat. He's the guy I'd be keeping in the lineup.
Well, that's what we're talking about with shortstop, right, Andrew? Like, you're saying, okay, the standard who's winning right now. Good. Well, he's playing shortstop and he's playing it poorly, and it's costing them games. So get him out of there. Doesn't mean get him out of the lineup. It means get him out of shortstop. Play him at second base. The only thing I sort of understand where Harrington and other people are coming from, and it's real easy for us to sit here on a podcast and say, like, this guy needs to play, this guy needs to play, this guy needs to play. You add them up, it's like 13 guys playing. Obviously, you can't do that, right? And you're gonna play Key every day. You're gonna play Reynolds every day. You only have so many spots, and so if we're saying guys need to get consistent reps, you need to allow that to happen. So if we're saying like Marcano should play short, Castro should play second, like, you got to get Bay in there, which you kind of do. You're going to play Reynolds every day. You're probably going to play Sawinski most days. Is Connor Joe an everyday player? I don't know. I mean, you can find reps for Bay there. They seem to not like McCutcheon in the outfield, but I'm always weary of like saying everybody should play. Get everybody in the lineup, and then you sit back and you're like, oh wait, that's not the least bit realistic. Never mind.
Yeah, making everybody happy can tend to not make everybody happy, which is simplistic but truthful, right? It's maybe not the best strategy for winning, but Another fun one we got tonight with the Rangers with Hill on the mound. Jason, any final thoughts before I let you get out of here, or am I on the hook for some minor league news?
I wouldn't mind hearing about your Harrington piece, but that's okay. No, and I'll gladly talk about the Hill start. It's kind of funny that he is starting opposite Nate Eovaldi. Hill this season had a procedure done to clean up his elbow, which I think has actually shown itself or been a positive development. I don't know whether people want to admit this or not, and I do have one topic I want to get into before the minor leagues that just rattled back in my brain. But something that with Hill, the elbow has been really good. His performance has been really good. I don't know if people want to admit that yet or not. It seems like there's still frustration over Rich Hill being on this team. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it's funny to me that he's starting opposite Eovaldi. Like they were friends in Boston. Eovaldi was one of the people that recommended the elbow procedure that Hill had. So it's going to be a fun pitching matchup. I'm actually going to Altoona tonight, as you know. I'm going to go check in with Henry and Peggy and some people down there. And I have not gotten a chance to see the curve. So we have an intern coming out to the park, and we don't really need 3 people there. So I'm going to get out of Dodge for a night. I'll be following along from the computer. But what I was going to bring up, Andrew, is Austin Hedges. Yeah. That's a story you worked on for today. I think it's a very important angle of last night. I think it's a very important angle of the Pirates season. And I want you to kind of take people behind the curtain. Even this is funny. This is, behind the scenes capital J journalism or something like how you and I went about reporting that. And I'll share my end of it if you want, but tell me about Hedges. Tell me about what you learned and why is he impactful to the staff?
Yeah, no, fun. This is right up my alley, as you know, Jason. I love talking catching and love getting into the nitty gritty of it. It was just really cool to talk about yesterday because got the chance. You and I went to the clubhouse and I was like, all right, let's spread out. Let's get into some of the starting pitchers who didn't throw today, right? Ortiz is the main guy. And I'm like, all right, I know Oviedo built up a little bit of a rapport with him. Like, let's chat it up and talk about how much Hedges matters. Like, what does he do behind the curtains that maybe, most people don't see on a day-to-day? Like, how does he impact the pitching staff? And it's incredible to get the insight of the pre-series meeting of, deep diving into every hitter on the Rangers. What are their tendencies? What are their hot zones? Like, Hedges drills down into it with every one of the starters. And it's like that, in addition to his ability to steal strikes, right? He's got the best stolen strike percentage of any catcher in baseball right now. I think it's a 56% clip of 50-50 balls, right? Like, that's 4 runs saved that in, a pretty small sample size, that shows you how good of a pitch framer he is. And maybe when we have automated umpires, that changes and, reduces the value of a guy like Hedges. But for the time being, what he does in terms of preparing for opposing hitters, what he does in terms of stealing strikes, and not to mention just good defensively in all aspects aside from throwing right now. That's something that's certainly been not his strongest suit. But you and I mentioned it last night of a catcher is great when you don't notice him. And after Sunday night, which Jason DeLay, it was a tough day for him and the pitchers as well, just kind of being erratic and throwing a lot of pitches in the dirt, which weren't easy blocks by any means, but just one wild pitch yesterday. Hedges called a great game with Ortiz. And the previous 2 starts, Ortiz had been thrown to DeLay. And that's no knock on DeLay, but the Hedges effect is very real. There was one juncture, I think it was a week and a half ago, where he had the best catcher's ERA of any catcher in baseball. I think that stat might still hold. This is a guy who certainly affects the staff in an impactful way. And it was really interesting to get some of the starters' thoughts on it, which I know I'm kind of tipping you off to that as well, but your role into the story itself.
Yeah, so I'm not patting myself on the back. What I am is saying the importance of having multiple people there and doing this job well, and I'm proud of us for the way this went down. But so I was talking to Ortiz, I believe it was, and I saw you over with Oviedo, and Hedges is sort of getting ready to leave, or it looked like he was getting ready to leave. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to peel. I got what I need from Ortiz and I peeled off of that. And I'm like, I want to make sure like we get more from Andrew, and he's with Oviedo. So I went and grabbed Hedges before he did like post-game radio on the Fan, which we were covered if we needed. He ended up talking to the group later, but still we were able to get comment from him and he was really good. I sort of looked at him and said, what did you do? You know, it's like Ortiz catches, or he threw us twice before. You get him, like, you know, just so I forget what the delivery was, but it made him laugh, and it brought the it was all him, bro. It wasn't me, or whatever. And he's a really good dude. I like Hedges a lot. And then I saw Mitch, and he was there, and I've talked to Mitch about this stuff privately quite a bit, about how much, and this goes back even Roberto Perez last year, how much he helped in various ways, helped the pitching staff. But I mean, Hedges has taken that and turned it on its head. But how much these guys love Hedges. And so I grabbed Mitch while you were with Oviedo, and we were able to kind of tag team it. And I shipped you some quotes over and read the piece, and it reads really well. If you haven't checked it out already, I know you have, Andrew. I'm talking to everybody else. But Austin Hedges' value behind the dish put on full display as Pirates bounce back with win. And, you know, I know Austin Hedges frustrates people with a lack of offense. I get that. He wants to be better, certainly. But I think last night proved, as I said earlier, that he does add value to this team in a big way. That counts for a lot, in my opinion, how he handles the pitching staff. And you saw it right there. Plain as day last night with how he handled Ortiz, how he caught that game, how he called that game, how he helps guys prepare, as you outlined. Like, just a really, really, really beneficial part of this group.
Tip of the cap, Jason. Thanks for the help as always, man.
You got it. Just here, just bring it up to pat myself on the back. That's it.
Too fun, man. Well, I guess it's
I won't injure myself doing it though.
I'll try. Yeah, come on. We can't let you be on the IL for some of these games. Come on. I guess that kind of leads me into my point. Is it Thomas Harrington time?
Yes. Give me something on Harrington, and then we're gonna get out of here.
All right, quick. 60 seconds on Harrington. Has added a sweeper now, which any baseball fan at this point knows how much that's the rave of baseball right now. It's legit. He's loading the strike zone as always these days down in Bradenton. Velocity's in a good spot for what he wants to do, and still a 4-pitch guy, but that sweeper is really playing well for him. Pitching really well in Bradenton, and you know, he's the first to say it. He's not a guy right now who's throwing 97 up and in at the hands, but what he's doing is pitching efficiently. He's pitching smartly, and I think it's 11 walks in 33 innings, something like that. He's averaging around like 9 Ks per 9. I mean, dude's pitching right, is pitching efficiently, and doing everything they're really asking him to do in Bradenton. And it was kind of neat for me. I guess I hadn't really realized this, is that down with Bradenton, how they kind of still only throw guys once a week. And so for him, it's been a nice little adjustment of going from college to being a starter like that. He's just going on Fridays, and he was like, oh, it's just like college. I'm just throwing on Friday night. So that was kind of a funny little tidbit, but really nice. Developing well, adding that sweeper into his repertoire, and I think it's really playing well for him.
You were under 60 seconds. Way to go, pal. Nailed it.
Excellent. Great work, team.
I'm gonna get ready to head out to Altoona. You have work to do. I'm sure as well. So,
fortunately, I do. It's been a blast, Jason. I'll let you get ready to head out to Toontown, and that's all we have for today's breakdown of the latest in Buccos baseball. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and stay updated with our latest content. And if you haven't already, check out our subscription deal in the description. $6, 6 months of access. Plenty of sports news to keep up with, and you don't want to miss it. Jason, thanks for your time, man, and we'll catch all you next time.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you liked the video, please like it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed it on Apple Podcasts, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. For 6 months of digital access to post-gazette.com for just $6, click the link down in the description.